Have you ever asked yourself, why do I keep putting off the very things that could change my life for the better? You sit down at your desk, open your laptop, and promise yourself, today I will finally start that project. But a few minutes later, you were already scrolling through social media without even thinking. You tell yourself you will go to the gym in the morning, but when the alarm goes off, you hit snooze and bury your face back in the pillow. It feels almost like our brains are wired to avoid the hard stuff. But herein the irony in the hard stuff is exactly what makes us grow, makes us stronger, makes us successful. Training your brain to do the uncomfortable is just like building a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it gets. But most of us never get past that first wall, the moment of resistance. You know you should pick up that book and learn a new skill, but you delay it day after day. You want to launch that business, but the thought of how complicated it might be makes you push it off again and again. And after repeating this cycle, you start to believe you are not disciplined enough. Or maybe you are just not capable. But that's not true. You are not weak. You are not lazy. You just haven't to learn how to work with your brain. Imagine this. You were standing in front of a locked door. Behind that door is the best version of you, healthier, smarter, more successful. But a door doesn't open with motivation or inspiration. It only opens with discipline and with understanding how your brain truly works. Because here ain't the truth, motivation doesn't to come first. Action does. Motivation is the reward that shows up after you move. And that's why if you really want to change your life, you need a method, the key to push your brain past that barrier and step through the door to who you are meant to become. In this video, we are going to explore a special approach, New Lotus method, that system designed to train your brain to do the hard things. Lotus means lotus flower, a symbol of patience, strength, and beauty, rising out of the mud. And just like the lotus, you too can rise above procrastination, fear, and comfort to reach the highest version of yourself. This method is built on 5 clear steps: awareness, flow, stillness, intentional action, and finally, patience. Each step isn't choose philosophy. Cesian, grounded in real psychology and Nammod. The beautiful part is, you don't need to be a genius or a monk to apply it. You just need to start small, practice it daily, and over time, you will notice something powerful. Your brain is no longer in control of you. Instead, you are the one in the driver's seat, leading your own thoughts, guiding your own actions. This is, just about learning how to do hard things. It's about learning how to live a disciplined, focused, and meaningful life. So before we dive into each step, I want you to take a second and ask yourself, what's one hard thing you've been putting off for far too long? Write it down, think about it, and hold on to that answer as you go through this video. Because once you understand and apply the Lotus method, you won't see that challenge with fear anymore. You will see it with the eyes of a warrior, ready to step in and conquer. This is the beginning of a new journey. A journey where you don't just learn how to tackle the hard things, you learn how to become the strongest version of yourself. Part 1. Understanding the brain and procrastination. Have you ever wondered why your brain constantly tries to avoid doing hard things? The answer actually lies in how the brain was designed for survival. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, our ancestors lived in the wild, where danger was everywhere. Back then, the brain evolved to prioritize comfort, safety, and saving energy. Whenever a tough task or challenge appeared, the brain would sound the alarm. Danger. Don't. Tiêu. Rồi. That response was useful when facing wild animals or harsh conditions. But in today's world, that same survival mechanism has turned into one of the biggest reasons we procrastinate. Science explains this as a constant battle between two systems. The hot system, the limbic system, controls emotions, instant gratification, and instinct. It wants you to eat the cookie right now instead of waiting for a healthy meal. It wants you to scroll social media for quick pleasure instead of sitting down to learn a new skill. On the other hand, the cool system, the prefrontal cortex, handles logic, planning, and discipline. This is the part of your brain that allows you to delay gratification and focus on long-term goals. The problem is the hot system is usually stronger, and if you don't know how to manage it, it will take control. One famous example is the marshmallow test. Scientists gave children a marshmallow and told them, if you wait and don't eat it, you will get a second one. Some kids resisted, some could. 2 years later, researchers found that the kids who could wait often did better in school, careers, and life. This test wasn't really about candy. It revealed how the brain handles temptation and self-control. Now, in modern life, we are surrounded by marshmallows everywhere. Netflix, TikTok, video games, fast food, phone notifications, all of them are designed to trigger dopamine, the feel-good chemical. Every time you check your phone, your brain gets a little hit of dopamine. Over time, your brain gets addicted to these quick rewards, making long-term difficult tasks feel heavier and harder than ever. Think about the last time you tried to write an important report. You opened your laptop, but before typing the first sentence, a notification popped up. You checked it, then watched a couple of videos. An hour later, the report was still blank. That's not because you lack ability, because your heart system won the battle and pulled you toward short-term rewards. And without a strategy, this cycle can repeat endlessly. But herein, the good news, the brain can change. This ability is called neuroplasticity. Your brain can form new habits, build new neural connections, and gradually adapt to a more disciplined way of living. Just like lifting weights strengthens your muscles, training the discipline center of your brain strengthens your self-control. And this is exactly where the Lotus Method comes in. It is a blend of Eastern philosophy and modern psychology, guiding you step by step through the brain and natural resistance. Instead of trying to smash procrastination with pure willpower, most people fail at, the Lotus Method shows you how to work with your brain, to understand it, to accept it, and then to gently lead it toward doing the hard things. So before we dive into the details, remember this: if change feels difficult, that's perfectly normal. That's how the brain works. But precisely because it might hard, the rewards are truly valuable. In the next part, we will begin with the very first step of the Lotus Method: awareness. This is the most important stage. Learning to notice when your brain is resisting, when you're making excuses, and when you need to stop and face the truth. Because without awareness, you would never even realize you're being pulled off track, and only when you see it clearly can you finally change it. Part 2. Introducing the Lotus Method. 5 steps to train your brain. Now that you understand how the brain works and why we often get trapped in a cycle of procrastination, the next step is to find a system to face it and overcome it. This is where the Lotus Method comes in. Inspired by the lotus flower, a powerful spiritual symbol, the lotus grows out of the mud, a place where beauty seems impossible. Yet with patience and strength it rises above the water and blooms in full glory. That in the same journey you're about to take, from procrastination, resistance, and comfort, to discipline, focus, and success. The Lotus Method isn't to just one technique, it is a system of 5 clear steps that you can apply to any area of life. Learning, work, health, even relationships. The best part, you don't need unbreakable willpower from day one. You just need to practice step by step, and slowly, you will take back control of your brain. The first step is awareness. This is the foundation. You can't change something you don't see. When you procrastinate, your brain always tries to justify it. I'm too tired, I will do it tomorrow, or I will just scroll TikTok for 5 minutes, then I will get back to it. Awareness is stopping and facing the truth you avoiding, and this moment right here has the opportunity to change. Once you've built awareness, you move to step 2, flow. Instead of forcing yourself into hard work with stress, you learn how to begin gently. The brain hates the feeling of being forced, but if you approach it with openness, starting becomes so much easier. Flow teaches you to slide into work, like dipping your toes into water before swimming, instead of jumping straight into freezing cold. The third step is stillness. This is what most of us skip. When the mind is noisy and anxious, you will naturally seek distractions. Stillness calms the brain, creating a quiet space to prepare for action. Through meditation, breathing, or simply sitting still for a few minutes, you train your brain to be comfortable in silence, a crucial state before tackling hard work. When you found stillness, you're ready for step 4. Focused, intentional action. This is where you give your full attention to one task without distractions. The brain wastes enormous energy when you multitask, but when you focus, you would be surprised by how much you can do. Intentional action means you don't just get it done. You do it with commitment, with purpose. This is the moment you break through resistance and step into real growth. And finally, step 5, patience. Just like the lotus doesn't bloom overnight, your brain wants to transform instantly. It needs time to build new habits, to repeat until new neural pathways grow strong. If you quit too soon, you would never see the flower bloom. Patience teaches you to accept the process, to be kind to yourself, and to trust that each small step will eventually add up to massive change. The Lotus method isn't to theory, easy in a practice, a journey where you learn to see your brain clearly, to move with it instead of against it, to find stillness, take focused action, and be patient for results. When these 5 steps come together, you don't just learn how to do hard things, you'll transform the way you live and work at the deepest level. In the next part, we will dive into the very first step, awareness. This is the doorway, the moment you learn to recognize the clever tricks your brain uses to keep you comfortable, and how you can wake up, rise above them, and take back control. Step 1. Awareness. Have you noticed that every time you procrastinate, your mind comes up with excuses that sound completely reasonable? I'm tired, I will start tomorrow. Just 5 minutes on Facebook, then I will get back to it. I will start when I feel motivated. These are the subtle traps your brain sets for you, and most of us get stuck in that loop without even realizing it. That's why awareness, the first step of the Lotus method, is the most important. Awareness means pausing and shining a light into the dark corners of your mind. Instead of acting on autopilot, you stop and ask yourself, why am I avoiding this? Simply recognizing that avoidance is already a huge step forward, because if you can't see it, you can't change it. Imagine being lost in a pitch-black room. You panic, stumble, bump into walls. But the moment you turn on even a small light, you instantly see the way out. Awareness is that light. A simple way to practice awareness is to start observing the exact moments you're about to procrastinate. For example, when you're reaching for TikTok instead of working, pause and say, oh, I'm looking for a quick reward to avoid a hard task. It may sound small, but naming the habit is how you take back control from that moment. You are no longer the victim of your brain. You're the observer, the decision maker. Many people think change requires massive willpower, but that's not true. Willpower is like your phone battery. It drains the more you use it. Awareness, on the other hand, is like the charger. Every time you pause and notice procrastination, you are charging your willpower. Instead of letting your brain drive unconsciously, you are putting your awareness back in the driver's seat. Take Steve Jobs as an example. He once said that every morning he looked in the mirror and asked, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do? That question wasn't meant to be dark. It was a way to stay aware, to pause, and to choose more intentionally. You can create your own version of that question. Am I truly choosing this, or is my brain choosing it for me? Another powerful tool for building awareness is journaling. Each time you procrastinate, write it down. What you plan to do, how you avoided it, and how you felt. Over time, you will start seeing patterns. Maybe you avoid tasks at night. Maybe it always happens when the work requires creativity. By spotting these patterns, you will know exactly when you're most vulnerable, and you can prepare for it. Awareness doesn't mean perfection. There will still be moments when you give in, when you choose the easy way out. But the difference is, if you know it, you will stop lying to yourself with tomorrow will be different. And that awareness alone changes the game, because real change always begins with seeing the truth. Here is a small exercise to try today. The next time you feel like procrastinating, don't defy it right away. Just pause and simply say to yourself, I'm procrastinating. It may sound trivial, but this is the seed. Just as a lotus cannot bloom without first being planted, discipline cannot grow without awareness. And once you've lit up that dark room with awareness, the next step is learning how to move with the flow instead of fighting against it. That can flow the secret to making hard work feel lighter, more natural, and less like a constant battle with yourself. Step 2. Flowing. Don't resist. Once you've cultivated awareness, you will notice every time your brain tries to pull you back into the comfort zone. But knowing alone isn't enough. If you only recognize it and then fight against it with tension, you will soon burn out. This is why the next step in the Lotus Method flow is so important. Imagine swimming upstream in a powerful river. You thrash around, pushing against the current, and quickly exhaust yourself. That's exactly how many people deal with procrastination. They force themselves to work, to start, to finish, and when they fail, they feel guilty and give up. Flow teaches a different approach. Instead of resisting, learn to move with the current. You were still swimming, but now you move in the same direction as the water, harnessing its strength instead of fighting it. In practice, flow means making the beginning as easy and natural as possible. You don't need to conquer the whole mountain at once. You just need to take the first step. One of the most effective techniques here is the 5-minute rule. Instead of telling yourself you must finish a 20-page report, simply commit to writing for 5 minutes instead of thinking you must work out for an hour. Just focus on putting on your shoes and stepping outside. Strangely enough, once you start, you often go much further than those 5 minutes. That small act of starting breaks down the brain wall of resistance. Flow also means accepting your current state rather than forcing yourself into a perfect state. Many people procrastinate not because they're lazy but because they're perfectionists. They think, if I can't absorb it really well, I'd rather not do it at all. But flow reminds you that you don't need to be great at the start. Just act and let the current carry you forward. Like a musician who can't wait for perfect inspiration before composing, you can't wait for the perfect day to begin. A great example comes from James Clear's Atomic Habits, where he says improving just 1% every day matters far more than big immediate changes. That flow, small consistent steps that add up over time until, when you look back, you become a very long way. To practice flow, adopt small supportive habits. First, prepare your environment ahead of time. If you want to read, place the book on your desk instead of in a drawer. If you want to exercise, set your workout clothes and shoes beside your bed. When barriers are minimized, your brain resists less. Second, break tasks into tiny pieces. Instead of thinking, I have to clean the whole room, start with folding 5 shirts. Once you begin, momentum carries you forward. Flow also has a mental aspect, letting go of immediate expectations. When you sit down to write, don't you demand a masterpiece. When you work out, don't you expect your body to transform in a week. Treat each small action as part of the natural current. Just as a river never rushes, you don't need to hurry either. Let difficult work become part of your daily rhythm, rather than a stressful battle. Once you learn to flow, you realize hard tasks aren't as intimidating as they seem. Resistance comes more from your approach than from the work itself. When you align with the current, start gently and allow the flow to carry you. Hard work becomes possible. And to go even deeper, after mastering flow, you will need another tool to keep the current steady: stillness. This is the next step in the Lotus method, where you learn to calm the mind, quiet the internal noise, and prepare for moments of powerful action. Step 3. Stillness. Think of a boxer in the ring. In the middle of tense rounds, he can't keep charging forward without pause. He needs moments to breathe, to be still, to recover energy and regain focus. Without that, just a few minutes later, he would be exhausted and lose the fight. Your life is the same when you force your brain to do hard things, learn a new skill, persist with a long-term project, or face a career challenge. You also need moments of stillness to avoid burning out too soon. Stillness is not laziness. This is the first thing you must engrave in your mind. Americans are often obsessed with the hustle culture, working non-stop, as if pausing equals failure. But in reality, numbers shows that short breaks help the brain consolidate memory, organize information, and restore focus. Just as muscles need rest to grow, the brain needs stillness to become stronger. A clear example is Thomas Edison, the great inventor. In the middle of intense work, he would recline in his chair, close his eyes, relax, holding a few steel balls in his hand. As he drifted into a drowsy state, the balls would fall and wake him up. Edison called this micronaps, and he believed they sparked breakthrough creative ideas. This shows that stillness is not procrastination, but a strategy to recharge creative energy and willpower. So how can you practice stillness in daily life? Here are 3 simple but highly effective ways. Practice conscious deep breathing when you feel resistance, anxiety, or procrastination. Pause and just focus on your breath for 1 to 2 minutes. Research from Stanford University has proven that slow, deep breaths activate the parasympathetic nervous system, pulling the body out of stress and back into calmness. Create quiet space in your day. This could be 10 minutes in the morning before you touch your phone, or a few minutes before bed. Turn off all noise, no music, no social media. Just allow yourself to be in silence. This is the time when you can hear your inner voice, when the brain cleans up the chaos. Americans often call this a digital detox. Practice mindfulness. This doesn't mean sitting in meditation for hours like Eastern monks. Mindfulness is simply paying full attention to what you are doing. When eating, just eat and taste the food. When walking, just walk and feel each step. This complete presence brings deep stillness because the mind is no longer scattered by dozens of other thoughts. Stillness also has another powerful benefit. It helps you separate emotion from action. In stillness, you can observe laziness, fear, or stress without being pulled into them. Instead of reacting quickly, you simply see the feeling, accept it, and still move forward. This is a crucial skill for forcing your brain to do hard things without breaking down mentally. A powerful example is Steve Jobs, who was famous for his daily meditation practice. He once said, "If you just sit and observe, you will see how restless your mind is. But over time it does calm." That calmness gave him clarity to make wise decisions in both business and life. Stillness doesn't make you weak. On the contrary, it's in, like winding up a clock, the better you rest at the right moment, the more strength and sharpness you have when you act. Americans like to say work hard, play hard, but the real secret should be rest well, act powerfully. And once you build the foundation of stillness, you'll be ready to step into the most important stage of the Lotus Method. Courage. This is the step that pulls you out of your comfort zone, makes you face your fears directly, and do the things you once thought were impossible. Step 4. Focused intentional action. Once you've practiced awareness, flow, and stillness, you are ready to move into focused intentional action. This is the step that brings all your preparation and awareness into reality, turning difficult work into concrete action. Because if you only cultivate awareness and stillness, nothing is truly accomplished. Focused intentional action is the bridge between theory and real results. Intentional action is completely different from working hard in a scattered way. Many people confuse working a lot with working effectively. You could sit at your desk all day constantly checking emails, but if all of it is busy work, you want to make real progress. Intentional action requires you to choose one important task, devote your full attention to it, and eliminate every possible distraction. This is the smartest way to push your brain to do hard work. A well-known technique for this step is deep work, introduced by Cal Newport. Deep work means dedicating long, uninterrupted periods of time to tasks with high value. It could be writing a critical report, coding software, or learning a new skill. When you work in this state, your brain operates at maximum focus, distractions fade away, and creativity soars. To begin focused, intentional action, you must create the right environment. Put your phone out of reach, turn off notifications, and let people know you don't want to be disturbed. Every small detail helps signal to your brain that this is serious work. Once the environment is set, psychological resistance is much easier to overcome. Another key strategy is breaking down big tasks into smaller specific steps. For example, if you need to write a 20-page report, don't think about writing all 20 pages at once. Set the goal of writing just one page, or even just one paragraph. When you complete that small step, your brain receives an immediate reward, fueling the motivation to keep going. This is how you use dopamine to push your brain to do hard work, rather than letting it resist you. Full intentional action also requires clear goals and deadlines. A task without a deadline is easy to postpone indefinitely. Set yourself a time frame, even a small mini deadline of 25 minutes. Using the Pomodoro technique with a time limit, the brain locks in better and naturally slips into a deeper flow state. Real-world example, Kobe Bryant, the basketball legend, didn't just train hard. He trained with extreme intention. Each practice session had a clear goal: 500 shots, footwork drills, hand drills, memorizing plays. No distractions, no just going through the motions. Every detail was executed with total focus, and the result was that he became one of the greatest athletes of all time. Another crucial element of focused intentional action is persistence over the long run. Even after setting up your environment, breaking down tasks and focusing, your brain will still resist. This is when you recall, or when asked, to notice resistance, flow to start gently, and stillness to preserve energy. When you combine all three, you break through procrastination and turn hard work into achievable action. Intentional action not only helps you complete difficult tasks, it rewires your brain. Each time you overcome resistance and accomplish something hard, your brain builds new neural connections. These make future hard tasks easier, gradually turning discipline into instinct. One small but powerful strategy is creating a starting ritual. For example, every time you want to write a report, make a cup of coffee, put on a soft playlist, and sit at your desk. When your brain recognizes this ritual, it will automatically shift into focus mode without as much forcing. Finally, focused intentional action demands continuous commitment. It is not a one-time effort, it is a steady sequence of deliberate actions. The more consistently you repeat intentional actions, the more your brain adapts to overcoming resistance, and hard work becomes a natural part of your life. When you fully embrace this step, you will find that hard work no longer feels like a stressful challenge. Instead, it becomes an opportunity to strengthen your brain, build discipline, and move closer to your goals. Intentional action is the step that transforms awareness, theory, and flow into tangible, measurable result. Step 5. Being patient. Like the lotus, patience does not mean sitting still and waiting. It is the ability to keep taking consistent action even when results have not yet appeared. Imagine you are planting a tree. You water it daily, care for the soil, fertilize it, and ensure it gets enough sunlight. In the early days, all you see is bare ground. If you lack patience, you will give up and never see the tree grow. But if you persevere, after a few weeks, green sprouts will emerge. With a little more time, the tree will grow strong. The brain functions just like this tree. When you train discipline, learn a new skill, or build a difficult habit, the brain needs time to create new neural connections. This process is called neuroplasticity. Each time you overcome procrastination, each time you focus and act with intention, you are reinforcing those connections. But results don't show up immediately. That is why patience is the key. If you quit before your brain adapts, all effort becomes useless. A powerful example comes from Elon Musk. When he started SpaceX, most projects failed, rockets exploded, and the public doubted him. But Musk remained patient, continuing to learn, refine designs, and experiment. After many failures, SpaceX succeeded, sending humans to space and transforming the entire industry. The difference wasn't just the idea. There was patience in action and continuous learning. To build patience, you can apply a few simple but effective strategies. First, break big goals into small steps and track your progress. When you see each small step completed, your brain receives a reward, helping maintain motivation without extreme pressure. Second, record even the smallest achievements. A list of things you've done well, even just writing a paragraph, folding some clothes, or finishing an exercise, reminds you that progress is happening. Third, embrace failure as part of the learning process. Failure doesn't mean weakness. It signals that you are learning to overcome challenges. Patience is also closely tied to trusting the process. When you cultivate patience, you no longer get caught up in instant results. You understand that every small action matters, and daily effort accumulates into big outcomes. This is how long-term successful people operate. They don't give up just because results haven't shown yet. They focus on taking the right actions every day. Another proof of this is J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter. She was rejected by many publishers before her famous series was released. If she had lacked patience, if she had quit after the first rejection, the world would never have known Harry Potter. She persevered, step by step refining the story, and eventually, the results changed the entire publishing industry. In the Lotus Method, patience is about maintaining habits, even if you only improve by 1% each day. This may seem small, but through the compound effect, 1% daily over a year will transform you completely. Instead of seeking giant leaps, you learn to value and trust the process day by day. And ultimately, patience doesn't just help you finish hard tasks, it makes hard work a natural part of your life. When you combine awareness, flow, stillness, focused, intentional action, and patience, you no longer need to force your brain in a stressful way. Instead, you have built a system where your brain learns to do hard things naturally, effectively, and sustainably. The Lotus Method integrates these 5 steps as a journey from the mud to the blooming lotus. Each step is a tool, but only when you apply them fully and persistently will you see results. Awareness helps you notice procrastination. Flow helps you start with ease. Stillness helps you calm down and recharge. Intentional action turns awareness and flow into results. And patience keeps you steady on the long road. Remember, any difficult task you want to conquer is possible if you practice the Lotus Method daily. Not with massive willpower, but with smart strategies, awareness, and patience. When fully applied, you want to just overcome procrastination, yably reshape the way your brain works, turning hard things into habits and into your true strength. Part 3. Practical applications and exercise. After understanding and applying the steps of awareness, flow, stillness, and focused, intentional action, the next step is to turn theory into practice. This is when you learn to train your brain to do hard things through daily exercises. First, apply awareness by keeping a procrastination journal. Whenever you feel the urge to avoid a difficult task, pause and write down what you are doing, how you feel, and why you are procrastinating. After a few weeks, you will start to notice recurring mental patterns and be ready with strategies to handle them. To practice flow, try the 5-minute rule. Pick a difficult task and commit to only starting for 5 minutes. Once you've begun, your brain usually continues working, and you often accomplish much more than intended. This taps into the natural flow without forcing yourself excessively. The stillness step can be practiced with short, deep breathing exercises or meditation. For example, try a body scan meditation. Focus on each part of your body. Notice tension and your breath. Regular practice calms the mind, reduces resistance when facing difficult tasks, and enhances concentration. To train focused, intentional action, break large tasks into specific steps and create an ideal environment. Turn off notifications, close unrelated tabs, and keep your works minimal. The Pomodoro technique is highly effective here. Work intensely for 25 minutes, rest for 5 minutes, and record your progress, feelings, and difficulties after each session. This not only improves focus but also reinforces patience and awareness of your progress. A practical application is learning a new skill. Suppose you want to learn a language. Notice your brain in resistance, awareness. Start with a short 5 to 10 minute study session flow. Take a calming breath before studying, stillness. Focus fully on a small lesson for intentional action, and be patient, learning a few words each day, patience. After a month, progress will be clearly visible. Additionally, you can create a daily success journal by writing down at least 3 difficult tasks you completed, no matter how small. This exercise builds confidence, generates motivation, and forms positive neural connections, making difficult tasks feel more natural over time. In short, the Lotus method is not just theory, it is a continuous practice journey. By training with exercises in awareness, flow, stillness, focused, intentional action, and patience, you will see your brain and ability to tackle hard tasks improve, discipline increase, and overall life performance rise significantly. Part 4. People who have applied this method. When it comes to training the brain to do hard things, many famous people have become living proof of the Lotus method. Even if they never called it by that name, they applied the principles of awareness, flow, stillness, focused, intentional action, and patience to achieve extraordinary results. One example is Elon Musk. When starting SpaceX, Musk faced a series of failures. Rockets exploded, financial pressure was immense, and the world doubted him. But instead of giving up, he followed a strategy very similar to the Lotus method, clearly recognizing problems and obstacles, awareness, taking small steps in experimental projects, flow, staying calm and focused to make smart decisions, stillness, taking deliberate daily actions, for intentional action, and patiently moving forward despite repeated failures, patience. The result? SpaceX became the most successful private space company in the world. Next is J.K. Rowling, author of the Harry Potter series. She faced multiple rejections from publishers, financial pressures, and the responsibility of raising a child alone. Rowling maintained consistent action, writing page by page, patiently developing the storyline, and not letting procrastination or fear control her. This is a prime example of patience combined with focused, intentional action. Her perseverance created one of the best-selling book series of all time. Another example is Kobe Bryant, the basketball legend. Kobe was famous for his Mamba mentality, the philosophy of constantly pushing himself beyond limits. He didn't just train hard, he trained with extreme intentionality, breaking down skills, focusing completely on each shot, each exercise, and learning from every failure. Kobe combined awareness, recognizing weaknesses, flow, starting gradually, stillness, calming before games, focused intentional action, focused practice sessions, and patience, consistent daily practice over years. The result? He became one of the greatest players in NBA history. Steve Rays is another perfect example. He knew how to create stillness, to foster creativity, clearly recognized personal and company limitations, awareness, focused on high-value products for intentional action, and patiently developed long-term projects like the iPhone, iPad, and MacBook. Jobs understood that training the brain to tackle difficult tasks isn't about relentless effort, but knowing when to pause, when to focus, and how to gradually turn ideas into reality. Finally, Thomas Edison, the great inventor, is a classic example. Edison experimented thousands of times before creating the complete electric light bulb. He broke down experiments into smaller steps, recorded results, and patiently progressed toward his goal. The combination of deliberate action and patience produced inventions that changed the world. These examples show that training the brain to do hard things is not impossible. By applying the principles of the Lotus method, awareness, flow, stillness, focused, intentional action, and patience, anyone can overcome procrastination, tackle difficult tasks, and achieve great success. These famous individuals are living proof that this method works in both personal life and career. The most important thing to remember is action. Knowledge alone is not enough. No one becomes exceptional just by reading books or listening to theories. Success comes to those who dare to rise, apply the methods, and practice consistently every day. The Lotus method is the tool to do this intelligently and sustainably without relying on blind willpower or harsh self-imposed pressure. Now, the time to change is today. Don't wait for inspiration or perfect conditions. Start with one small step. Notice what you are procrastinating on. Spend 5 minutes trying it. Take deep breaths and fully focus. When you practice regularly, small steps accumulate into significant progress, and daily patience transforms you into a stronger version of yourself. Life will always be full of challenges, and difficult tasks will always exist. But now you have a method, the Lotus method, to face them smartly, effectively, and persistently. Apply it, practice it, and trust the process. Every action you take today is a stepping stone toward achieving your larger goals. Stand up, start now, and turn difficult tasks into your strength. Not tomorrow, not next week, the time to change is now. Thanks for watching the video. If you found this content helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos. BookSnack is your go-to place for short and enjoyable book summaries. Got a book you go like us to cover next? Drop the title in the comments below. I will be reading all of them and picking the most requested ones. Thanks again for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video.